Welcome to Hot Topics, Sharina Hudson. Getting out of my car with my money.
Oh.
Good morning, Journey. I think she'll be 3 next month, don't you know? Good morning, Kelvin.
Life is not what you think it is behind the scenes. Trust me, Homegirl is miserable. And it looks like karma is not done with Sharina and Kevin just yet, because they are down in them trenches now. We already know Kevin was recently sued over maxed out credit cards and thousands owed to several banks, and as if that wasn't bad enough, he was also forced to sell off their mansion and their luxury cars just to cover the debt after Wendy's alimony checks stopped coming through. And now, just when we thought it couldn't get worse for them, Sharina herself is being sued by TJ Maxx after defaulting on a $3,000 balance on her store card. Yes, an amount that used to be pocket change to both of them is now the reason she's getting dragged to court. Word on the street is Wendy's currently living quietly in Florida, while Sharina and Kevin are scrambling to keep their heads above water financially. And honestly, she thinks this is exactly the karma they've had coming after everything they put her through. But before we get fully into this mess, let me give y'all the context of how things got this bad in the first place. This whole thing started back in 2019 when Wendy filed for divorce from Kevin. He'd been involved with Sharina while still married to Wendy, and it went far beyond an affair. He went on to have a baby with her. According to Wendy, she'd actually known about the affair almost from the beginning, saying flat out that Kevin was a serial cheater and that she found out the first time while she was pregnant with their son, on bed rest. What ultimately pushed her to file for divorce, though, wasn't the affair itself. It was finding out he had a secret baby with Sharina that he never told her about. She didn't just divorce him after that. She fired him as her manager on the same day, later joking publicly that she managed to make him divorced and unemployed all in one move. What's wild is that even Sharina's own family sided with Wendy through all of this. Sharina's uncle was asked directly what he thought of the situation and didn't hold back, saying she should know right from wrong, and pointing out that she'd left her home state of South Carolina years earlier and hadn't been back to see her family, not even for the holidays. This is where things actually got rough, for Wendy specifically, because as part of the divorce, she was ordered to pay Kevin alimony, which quickly became his primary source of income. Meanwhile, Sharina was living her best life, and Kevin funded a string of businesses for her that all failed one after another. He put her through school to become a massage therapist, opened her a kiosk at a mall in North Carolina, and helped launch a jewelry and clothing line called Vish. Kevin himself even opened a barbershop that flopped just as badly. All of it. Every single failed venture was reportedly financed with Wendy's money, dollar by dollar, without her fully realizing the scale of what was happening. And despite none of these businesses ever working out, the two of them kept living a fully glamorous lifestyle without either of them holding down real jobs. If you know Wendy, you know it was only a matter of time before she said something about it publicly. She eventually commented that Sharina's businesses kept failing because she simply wasn't sharp enough to run one, describing her as someone who moved to the big city, chasing bright lights and a modeling dream, working the club promo scene where girls with sparkler champagne bottles talk men into spending big. But Wendy wasn't done. When her show got canceled, she stopped sending the alimony checks entirely, and that sent Kevin into a full spiral. He was suddenly out of money to fund the lifestyle he and Sharina had gotten used to, and things got bad enough that he actually dragged Wendy back to court over the missed payments, claiming they were his only source of income and that he had nothing left to keep himself afloat. In court documents, he was quoted saying he'd fallen behind on most of his bills, that his community required HOA payments he couldn't make, that foreclosure would follow if those fees stayed unpaid, that his car insurance had lapsed, and that he was behind on credit cards because the severance-style payments had stopped entirely. This is a man who lived off someone else's money for years and never thought to put a single dollar aside for a rainy day. Both he and Sharina genuinely seemed to believe Wendy would just keep the checks coming forever. The judge saw right through it, ruling his request wasn't emergent and dismissing his application without prejudice. Now, how exactly was Wendy able to just stop those payments without consequence? Turns out she'd built a clause into the original alimony agreement stating she only had to pay Kevin as long as she still had a show. Once the Wendy Williams show got canceled following her health issues, she legally didn't owe him another dime. And in case you're wondering whether she'll be on the hook again once she starts working, the clause also specifies the payments only apply if she's doing mainstream television, and given that her recent activity points toward podcasting instead, Kevin may be out of luck for good. Things spiraled fast from there. They had to sell their Florida house for $1.2 million. Kevin reportedly took out a loan through a company called Flex Wealth just to keep paying for 2 luxury cars, all while Sharina was still riding around in the passenger seat of a Rolls-Royce and a Ferrari like nothing had changed. On top of that, UBS Bank sued him separately for failing to make payments on credit card debt worth well over 5 figures. And while everyone assumed Kevin was the only one drowning, it's now come out that Sharina's been piling up debt of her own. Blogger Miss Chronicles Speaks broke the story after posting court documents showing Sharina owed over $3,000 on her TJ Maxx card, a debt she was originally due to pay off back in March 2023 and has apparently defaulted on ever since. An amount that used to mean absolutely nothing to either of them has become an actual lawsuit now that Wendy's checks aren't propping up their lifestyle anymore. Meanwhile, Wendy herself has reportedly gone quiet and relocated. Her longtime friend Miss Jones, from the radio show at 94.7 The Beat, the same woman who once exposed Kevin for allegedly attempting to hire someone to harm her over her closeness with Wendy, recently revealed she went to check in on Wendy after not hearing from her in a while. According to Miss Jones, Wendy's doorman told her Wendy had moved out of her New York building a few weeks earlier, relocating to Florida with her son, Kevin Hunter Jr., to recover away from the noise Kevin and Sharina kept stirring up around her. Neighbors in the building reportedly told Miss Jones that Wendy had been improving before getting sick again, and that once unfamiliar people started showing up around her circle, her team made the call to move her down to Florida, where she could recuperate more privately. And according to sources close to the situation, Sharina is apparently now blaming Wendy for her own lawsuit, suggesting that if Wendy hadn't cut off the alimony, none of this would be happening to her. Let that sink in for a second. A woman who allegedly helped wreck someone else's marriage, lived off her money for years while funding a pile of failed businesses, is now turning around and blaming that same woman for her own irresponsible spending catching up to her. It's giving delusional, honestly, and it's exactly the kind of logic that makes it hard for anyone to feel sorry for her right now. People online have had a lot to say about all of it. One popular comment pointed out that Wendy could come back today and reclaim her spot like she never left, since nobody's really filled the void she left behind since 2020, arguing there's no rush for her to return before she's fully healed, because that spot isn't going anywhere. Another person joked that you know you're truly broke when you can't even cover a $3,000 TJ Maxx bill. And honestly, that comment section pretty much sums up how the internet feels about this whole saga. Very little sympathy left for either Kevin or Sharina at this point, and a whole lot of people rooting quietly for Wendy to land back on her feet, without either of them anywhere near her success this time around. So now I want to know what y'all think. Do you think Sharina blaming Wendy for her own lawsuit is completely unhinged, or does she have any kind of point? And do you think this is really the end of the road financially for her and Kevin? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to click here to watch another one of these messy videos.